This is weird. I'm just looking at my blog for the 9th, I'm editing in a few parts. I just want to point. I'm gonna drop this in right before the part that I'm gonna try and edit over. Um, I've noticed this more than once on the internet where I type something and I type or this is the first time I've noticed it where I said something. Um, and what comes out is the opposite of what I meant to say. It is on the public record that Elizabeth May is pro-life. She's a pro-life minister, and that what I'm trying to get across is that her pro-life positions are very distracting for leftists in Canada, who will refuse to vote for her due to her religious fundamentalism. That's a big problem for leftists in Canada. But for some reason, what came out in the video was that I claimed that she's pro-choice and that she supports abortion. I don't know how that happens. I do know that I do tend to have a tendency to get things kind of backwards in my head, but it happens on such a frequent basis that I'm kind of skeptical as to what it is that's actually happening there. Okay, so let's reiterate. Let's be clear. Elizabeth May is a ordained United Church minister. She is pro-life, very religious, and what I'm trying to get across is that her religious fundamentalism is a big problem on the left, and her attempts to claim that BDS is a distraction is very tone deaf. It indicates that she doesn't really realize what it is that's preventing her from breaking through. And preventing her party from breaking through, and what her party needs to do to move forwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try something that I haven't really done before, is I'm going to try to, instead of redo the whole segment, because I like the segment, I'm going to try and just splice in little pieces of audio. So if the next segment has some cut up audio, that's intentional, because I'm trying to replace so somehow I said the opposite of what I meant to say, and so I'm trying to correct that. Again, just to be clear, because the audio is going to be cut up, what I meant to say is, and this is in the public record, it's easy to check, is that Elizabeth May is openly pro-life due to her religious views, and that is very divisive in Canada on the left, and acting as a very strong disincentive for people to join the environmental movement, which does not have anything at all to do with reproductive rights. So Elizabeth May is musing about stepping down because the party voted for sanctions against Israel, of all things. That's really sad. I mean, we just saw the NDP clamp down on this and essentially destroy themselves in the process. I think it's partly generational, but like if this is the issue, then it's time for her to step aside and let a new generation of people with a new generation of ideas, and that understands things as they exist today, not as they existed 75 years ago. Take over, right? I've actually been saying this for a while, but I mean, to me this is kind of a breaking point, right? I've talked to dozens of activists on the left that have told me point blank, and I actually agree with them. I mean, I've never been in a situation where I've seriously considered voting for the Greens. I've mused about it, okay? But I've always, in the end, voted, NDP or Liberal. But I've had lots and lots of activists look me in the eye and say, I cannot vote for a pro-life minister. I cannot vote for a party that is run by a pro-life minister. I'm not talking about one or two people. I'm talking about dozens of people. If she wants to talk about things that are distracting or divisive, it's her opposition to abortion that is the most distracting, most divisive thing that the party is dealing with and has been dealing with for years. And then she talks about BDS, which is it's a consensus position on the left. Even people that don't really, people that don't think it'll work, or people that have reservations about it, it's a moral position. It's a consensus moral position. Okay. And then she talks about that as distracting. No, it's the biggest distraction is the fact that she's a minister and she is very openly opposed to abortion rights. And this is what I've been saying for a long time. And it's like I say, it's based on it's I'm not a polling firm. I'm not tabulating survey results, but I've traveled quite a ways in activist circles in Canada, and it's pretty widely stated that people may not state it in these terms, right? Because they don't want to sound like they're ageist or something, or they don't want to sound like they're being, they're opposing, they're persecuting a religious person. They want to, talk about how people should. I mean, I don't take that position. I think that religious freedom is an oxymoron, and I have no problem saying that. Okay, you're too old, go home, right? But I mean that it's the basic perception that I get from a lot of NDP supporters and a lot of Liberal supporters is that that's what the Green Party needs is younger, more secular leadership, right? You need to get out of this, building for future generations stuff and get into just, the nitty-gritty of the economics of it. People that are more about today than about tomorrow. And with the apparent collapse of the NDP, there's really a big space for them in the spectrum. But so long as the party is run by a pro-life minister, they will not bring these people in. These people will run away. And you'll continue to get all of these, attacks on the Green Party as a right-wing party. That may sound shocking to you if you're from outside the country. But the real grassroots on the ground, the real activist movements, they broadly see the Green Party in Canada as a right-wing party. Despite the fact that their platform is overwhelmingly left-wing, and the reason is just because of the abortion thing. Okay? So I mean, I don't want to say good riddance to her. She spent a lot of effort building this. She did a very good job in doing what she's done, and she's a good MP. She takes very good notes. She's, often, when you're confused about something, you hear the parties yelling at each other, politicking this over that. She's often a good, resource to go to, and you can trust her for these kinds of things often. But she can't be the head of a movement. Her thinking is too rooted in the past. They need younger, more secular leadership.